Jalen Hurts grew up steeped in the culture of Texas football, where hard-hitting competition and Friday night lights reigned supreme. Even as a kid, he seemed destined for greatness, yet his path was rarely straightforward. From being benched in the most important game of his life to silencing critics on the NFL's biggest stage, he faced pressure that would break most players. Still, he never folded. Instead, he turned every failure into fuel, forging himself into one of football's most fascinating young quarterbacks. How did a quiet, powerlifting teenager from Channelview, Texas, emerge as a potential NFL MVP? And what lessons can we learn from the controversies and speculations that followed him? Let's unravel the remarkable story of Jalen Hurts, one marked by unwavering grit, last-minute heroics, and the kind of resilience that makes fans everywhere wonder if his best moments still lie ahead. Jalen's father coached at Channelview High School, giving his son an inside track to the sport. Rather than treating him with kid gloves, though, Coach Hurts pushed him as hard as any other player. The scoldings were public and relentless. Jalen missed a read, everyone heard about it. Yet this strict environment taught him to handle the pressure. Instead of sulking, he learned to shoulder responsibility, a trait that would later define his college career. This mental toughness was matched by his physical prowess. Early on, Jalen developed an obsession with powerlifting. Some folks balked at a quarterback squatting more than a lineman, but Jalen reveled in that dual identity. He aimed to be the strongest guy in the room, not just the most accurate passer. Opposing defenses discovered that sacking Hurts was like tackling a bulldozer. Unsurprisingly, he soon became a star at Channelview, throwing for well over 2,000 yards, rushing for 1,000 more, and piling up 50 total touchdowns in his senior year. That production caught the eye of major programs, and after flirtations with Texas A&M, he committed to Alabama. Nick Saban rarely starts true freshmen at quarterback, yet in Jalen's debut season, that rule book got tossed aside. Initially another QB, Blake Barnett, earned the job. But when the Alabama offense sputtered in its opening game against USC, Saban inserted Jalen. The result? A commanding performance, featuring 4 total touchdowns to set a tone for the season. It was clear this freshman meant business. Hurts ended up passing for 2,780 yards and 23 touchdowns, while adding another 13 scores on the ground. With him at the helm, Alabama went undefeated in the regular season, eventually meeting Clemson in a classical national championship showdown. While Clemson Deshaun Watson carved up defenses for over 400 yards, Hurts struggled to complete passes under constant pressure. In the final moments, Watson's late-game heroics sealed a 35-31 win, leaving Hurts and the Crimson Tide with a gut-wrenching defeat. Despite the loss, Jalen's first-year accolades were astonishing. He won SEC Offensive Player of the Year, broke school rushing records for a quarterback, and generated Heisman buzz. Yet the bitterness of falling short defined that offseason. Hurts wanted to ensure he wouldn't crumble again in the defining moment. Alabama opened Jalen's second year with renewed title hopes. Once more, the team went on a rampage, losing just once in the regular season before dispatching Clemson in the playoff. That victory set up a national championship clash with the Georgia Bulldogs, a game that would forever alter Jalen's narrative. Critics had begun pointing to limitations in his passing. Sure, he could run through defenders, but analysts questioned his ability to dissect complicated defenses. When the game arrived, Hurts performed poorly in the first half, completing only 3 passes for a meager 21 yards, trailing 13-0 at halftime. Coach Saban made a decision that stunned football fans. He benched Jalen for freshman Tua Tagovailoa. Tua caught fire, tossing critical touchdowns and leading a dramatic comeback that ended with Alabama recapturing the national title. Though Hurts was technically part of a championship-winning squad, it didn't feel that way to him. The surrounding media storm was merciless, calling it the end of his college QB career. In a move that baffled many analysts, Jalen chose to stay at Alabama. He recognized that learning from Nick Saban might still be his best shot at improving. Tua started all season, and Alabama again tore through its schedule unbeaten. That put them in the SEC championship against Georgia. This time, Tua went down with an injury, forcing Hurts into action late in the game. Georgia had a 7-point lead, and the Bulldogs smelled victory. What they didn't expect was Jalen's retribution story to unfold. Hurts calmly led the offense, completing critical passes, and eventually tying the game with a gorgeous throw on 3rd and goal. Then, with under a minute to play, he powered into the end zone on a quarterback run, sealing the 35-28 win. In that stadium, 1 year after being benched, he was now the hero. It was a picture-perfect redemption tale, one that demonstrated Jalen's growth. Though Tua would still start in the national championship, where Alabama fell to Clemson, Hurts had shown the world that adversity only made him stronger. "That day made me who I am," he said. "I wouldn't change it for anything." Knowing Tua would likely retain the starting job for the 2019 season, Jalen took his remaining year of eligibility to Oklahoma. Under Coach Lincoln Riley's pass-heavy offense, Hurts exploded. Freed from the Alabama bench, he showcased improved accuracy, finishing with nearly 4,000 passing yards and 30-plus touchdowns. On the ground, he bulldozed for over 1,000 yards and added another 20 scores, an unheard-of combination at the highest level of college football. Oklahoma reached the playoffs, only to encounter Joe Burrow's LSU squad, which was one of the most loaded college teams in recent memory. Despite these eye-popping stats, some NFL scouts remained skeptical, cautioning that Jalen might not adapt well to pro-style offenses. As draft boards took shape, most projections pegged Jalen as a 2nd or 3rd round pick, overshadowed by names like Joe Burrow, Tua, and Justin Herbert. He ended up going 53rd overall to the Philadelphia Eagles, a franchise that had just handed Carson Wentz a whopping contract. This choice confused a lot of people. Why commit a high pick to a quarterback when Wentz was supposedly the face of the franchise? Questions swirled around whether Hurts would just be a gadget player or if Philadelphia saw him as a future starter. But a storm was brewing in Philly. Wentz struggled throughout the 2020 season, ultimately leading the Eagles to bench him in favor of Hurts. The franchise ended that year in chaos, with swirling rumors of locker room strife and dissatisfaction from Wentz's camp. Hurts, for his part, displayed the promise and flaws many had expected. He showcased top-notch mobility, the same intangible spark that carried him at Alabama and Oklahoma, but still needed to work in reading complex NFL defenses. Critics were split. Some believed the Eagles had stumbled upon a star in the making. Others chalked it up to a fluke season with nothing to lose. The 2021 season gave Jalen his first full-time shot. With the starting job to lose, he exceeded modest predictions. Although his passing numbers fell short of elite, his leadership was evident. He threw for more than 3,000 yards, rushed for over 700, and notched 16 passing touchdowns plus 10 rushing. A 61% completion rate revealed room for improvement, and the Eagles finished the season as a borderline playoff team. They made the postseason but bowed out quickly against Tom Brady's Buccaneers, indicating the gap they still had to close. Everything changed once the Eagles acquired star wide receiver A.J. Brown in 2022. Brown's arrival turned a decent receiving core into one of the league's most dynamic units. Paired with 2021 Heisman winner Devonta Smith, the Eagles suddenly boasted lethal options downfield. Hurts, benefiting from the upgraded talent, made a massive leap. He posted career bests in passing yards, touchdowns, and completion percentage. The Eagles charged through the regular season, grabbing the NFC's top seed. Hurts' biggest question was consistency in the pocket, but each week he seemed more comfortable scanning the field. By playoff time, the skepticism around him had faded into the background. The notion that he was merely a running quarterback disappeared as he racked up efficient passing numbers against formidable defenses. His steady composure under pressure served as the team's backbone, guiding Philadelphia back to the Super Bowl. In the championship game against Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, Hurts' performance was spectacular. He recorded multiple rushing touchdowns, connected on deep passes, and nearly outdueled Mahomes in a high-scoring thriller. Despite a narrow loss, his display cemented his status as one of the NFL's brightest stars. He finished the year second in MVP voting and garnered widespread respect as a proven leader who could carry a franchise on his back. Following that Super Bowl run, the Eagles wasted no time in securing Hurts with a massive contract extension. Rumors hinted at potential health worries, especially given Hurts' willingness to absorb hits. Critics pointed to the longevity issues for running quarterbacks, while fans argued that his throwing skills had grown enough to offset that risk. Meanwhile, the Eagles continued to refine their roster, driven by a belief that with the right support, Hurts could bring home multiple Lombardi trophies. In Philadelphia's locker room, Hurts' teammates speak about his laser focus. He's known for film study marathons and a preference for letting his on-field work do the talking. Though he's not the loudest voice, when he does speak, people listen. Some note how his calm demeanor provides a steadying force in intense fourth-quarter moments. The same kind of resilience that fueled him through benchings and heartbreak at Alabama. Still, NFL fans are fickle. One poor performance spawns doubt and speculation. One dazzling win reignites MVP talk. Hurts stands at a career crossroads, where he can either become a perennial top 5 quarterback or watch the hype fade under relentless scrutiny. His biggest challenge now might be sustaining this meteoric rise. The NFL adjusts quickly, and defenses will be eager to exploit any flaws in his game, yet he's already proven that he can evolve. If that pattern continues, the sky's the limit. Fans see him forging a new mold of quarterback, one who combines intelligence, power, speed, and leadership into a single lethal package. Jalen Hurts' story is one of guts and grinding perseverance. He refused to settle for being a marginal backup at Alabama, stuck around long enough to author a legendary redemption in the SEC, and then transferred to Oklahoma to put up record-smashing numbers. Along the way, he faced every form of doubt, questions about his passing, his future in the pros, even whether he deserved to be drafted as high as he was. And with the Philadelphia Eagles, he's ascended to the brink of football immortality, leading them to a Super Bowl and landing a major contract extension. Yet the narrative isn't finished. Hurts still has critics demanding more consistency, more big game wins, and eventually a Lombardi trophy. For a player who thrived on proving doubters wrong, that's the perfect environment. He's demonstrated the capacity to transform himself, whether that meant bulking up in high school, adapting to new schemes in college, or refining his throwing to thrive at the highest level. And if history is any guide, he'll keep raising the bar, rewriting what people think he can accomplish. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.